be the ideal of all integer multiples of p. Okay, so we have considered any prime number p and we have considered the ideal generated by that prime number in this sense. This is an ideal that we already know. Okay, now the question is it maximal? Let U be any ideal of R. Remember that now R is the ring of integers. Okay, it's not any ring. Let U be any ideal of R. Let so since it is an ideal, so it will be generated by some element m, some integer where m is an integer. Assume that U contains P, and U, since it is an ideal, it will automatically be contained in R. So we are not writing that part, we are concentrating on this only. And additionally, not just this, we are also assuming that U contains P properly. It's not equal to P. There we are removing that possibility. Okay. Then there exists some integer U belonging to U minus P. Since U properly contains P, there will be some integer satisfying this, which is in U but not in the smaller set P. Okay. Then U does not belong to P. That is, small p does not divide U. You see, had small u been in P, it would have been an integer multiple of P. That means P would have divided small u. But now that is not the case, so P does not divide U. Now recall a result of prime numbers which says that if we are given two integers U and P and one of them is a prime, then either that prime divides the other integer or they are relatively prime. This implies P and U are relatively prime, that is their greatest common divisor is 1, and hence AP plus BU is equal to 1 for some integers A and B. Okay, from properties of GCD. Now, since U belongs to U, that is fine. So since U is an ideal, so this multiple BU will also belong to U. And note that this prime number P, it belongs to capital P, and capital P is contained in U. So this small p belongs to U. So this multiple AP also belongs to U, and their sum also belongs to U. Now since P and U belong to, without saying all those things, I mean without writing all of them, we are just simply starting from here. Now since P and U belong to U and U is an ideal we have 1 is equal to AP plus BU, this belongs to U. Now from the first exercise of the previous section, we already know that if an ideal contains a unit element, then it has to be the whole ring. But then by exercise 1 of section 3.4, U is equal to R. So if we have an ideal that contains P properly, then that has to be the whole ring. That is, between the whole ring and P there is no other ideal, hence P is a maximal ideal. So we see that if we are generating the ideal by a prime number, then we are getting maximal ideal. Are they the only maximal ideals, or will there be some other type of maximal ideals? Now we will show that they are the only maximal ideals. Okay. Conversely, let us take I equal to say M naught be a maximal ideal of R, where M naught is an integer. Note one thing carefully, that we have taken a maximal ideal in the ring of integers. Since every ideal in the ring is, it looks like this, so I is also a the collection of all multiples of some integer M naught. But don't make the mistake of thinking that M naught is prime. No, we have to prove that. We have assumed that I is maximal. From that we will prove now that M has to be a prime. In the hope of getting contradiction, we will assume that M is not prime. Suppose M naught is equal to say alpha beta for integers alpha comma beta satisfying this. 1 is less than alpha, which is less than M naught, like that 1 is less than beta, this is less than M naught. In other words, alpha and beta are proper factors of M naught. Okay, now we want a contradiction. Let A be the ideal generated by alpha, say. Okay. It's easy to see that I is contained in A. I is contained in A. Why? Because if you take any element in I, how will it look? It will be some multiple of M naught, where gamma is some integer. But this equals gamma times alpha beta, where alpha and beta are integers. So this is automatically a multiple of alpha, and as such it will belong to capital A. So that's why every element in I is in A. fine. Okay, but we also want to okay, now instead of I was thinking about something else. Now we can use the fact that I is maximal. So since contains I and is of course contained in the ring, and I is maximal, so either A will be equal to I or A will be equal to the whole ring. Since I is maximal, we have I is equal to A or A is equal to the whole ring. Okay. Assume I is equal to A first. Now if I is equal to A, then the generator of A, which is alpha, will also be in I, since alpha belongs to A, which is equal to I. Now we have alpha is equal to gamma times m naught for some integer gamma. Okay, but now we can use this expression. Then alpha is equal to gamma alpha beta, and since alpha is non-zero because alpha is greater than 1, we have, if we can cancel alpha from both sides, we have 1 is equal to gamma beta. This implies, keep in mind that beta, gamma, these are integers and they are positive integers. Beta is positive, that we are getting from here, beta is greater than 1. Gamma is also positive because alpha is positive. I mean, we are considering only positive. The fact that for any ideal in the ring of integers, we can choose a positive generator. For this, you go to group theory and look at the things on cyclic groups. There you will see why this alpha, m naught, they can be chosen as positive. So the thing that we now get is this: both gamma and beta will be equal to 1. We only need this one, and this contradicts this inequality. This implies beta is equal to 1, which contradicts beta greater than 1. So we cannot have I is equal to A. So we are left with only one possibility. Now A has to be equal to R. Next, assume A is equal to R. Okay, then since 1 belongs to R, we have A consists of all the multiples of alpha. So since 1 belongs to R, so 1 will also be a multiple of alpha for some delta belonging to R. Okay, now Again, this along with the fact that alpha is a positive integer makes us conclude that alpha has to be equal to 1. But then alpha is equal to 1 which contradicts this. So we cannot have this either. So that means this is the supposition from which all these things are flowing out. So this supposition is wrong. Hence, our last supposition is wrong. That is, M naught has to be a prime number. So we see that in the ring of integers, an ideal is a maximal ideal if and only if its generator is a prime number. So the notion of maximal ideals corresponds to the notion of prime numbers. Each prime number corresponds to a maximal ideal, and they are the only maximal ideals. So in the ring of integers, the notion of maximal ideals corresponds exactly to the notion of prime numbers. Using this as a model, we cannot, however, generalize this to arbitrary rings and their maximal ideals. This type of correspondence is not present in a general ring. So our next example is this. So here we have characterized the maximal ideals completely. Now in the next example, we will get half the job done. The other half will be an exercise at the end of this section, and that is an exercise with 2 asterisks. It is very complicated, but we have the solution. Example 352. Let R be the ring of all real valued continuous functions on the closed unit interval. We have already seen this. Where did we see this? Let me see. We have seen this in example the 5th example, when we were is it 335? Okay, maybe it may be 315 also. Okay, I'm not sure. You can just verify it. So we already know what this ring is. Its elements are real valued continuous functions with this unit interval as their domain, and where addition and multiplication are defined pointwise. Okay, if you know what I mean. Okay, now consider, so in this ring now we are going to see what the maximal ideals are. Now consider the set M to be the set of subset consisting of all functions which vanish at the point 1 by 2. 1 by 2 is a point in the domain, so we can consider all continuous functions which vanish at 1 by 2. Their graphs may look like this. This is 1 by 2. It may be like this, it may be like this. Whatever the graph is, it will pass through the point 1 by 2 comma 0. This looks familiar. Have we already proved that this set is an ideal? I think we have proved. If not, I urge you to prove that this set is an ideal in this ring. We are not primarily interested in this set being an ideal, but we want to show that this is a maximal ideal. Let me just see what I have written here. I haven't written anything here. So if it has not been proved that this is an ideal of R, you please do it. It will not be very difficult. Okay. Now, so I am assuming that M is an ideal. So let me write it like this. Now we know that M is an ideal of R. Let U be an ideal of R such that U contains M properly. It's just like that previous example. We will now try to show that U is the whole ring R, and the procedure is it follows the same line. We will somehow show that 1 belongs to U. Okay. Note one more thing, that the rings we are considering, both the examples are commutative rings naturally, and both of them have unit elements. So we will now consider an element in U which is not in M. Same. Choose an element G belonging to U minus M. So that means G does not belong to M. Then G belongs to U and G does not belong to M. From G not belonging to M, we get this. Since G does not belong to M, G will not vanish at 1 by 2. Let us call this alpha, this real number. Note that this is a real number. Okay. Now, consider the function h, let me write it here, from 0, 1 into R, where h of x is defined like this: g of x minus alpha. Okay, now since g is in U, so in particular g is in R, so that means g is a continuous function. Alpha, the constant function, you can think of this as the constant function, that is also a continuous function, so their difference is a continuous function, and that's why this becomes a ring, right? Since the function zero comma 1 to R, where x gets mapped onto alpha, is continuous, we have h, okay, I am writing directly, h belongs to R, because h is the difference of two continuous functions, so this is continuous, it will again be in R, right? H belongs to R, but we also have h of 1 by 2. What is h of 1 by 2? G of 1 by 2 minus alpha, which is nothing but alpha minus alpha is equal to 0. So you see that h not only is a function in R, but it also vanishes at 1 by 2. So h will belong to M. H belongs to M. Okay. H belongs to M, and hence H will belong to U, because M is a subset of U. And hence H belongs to U. Now look at this. G belongs to U and H belongs to U. So that means H minus G will also belong to U. Alpha equal to H minus G belongs to U, where alpha denotes the function given by equal to alpha. This may look confusing. Okay, we are at one point we are saying that alpha is a real number, then we are saying that alpha is a function. Actually they are not the same thing, but since this real number characterizes the function completely, we sometimes confusingly use the same symbol to denote both the real number as well as the function. If you know what you are doing, you won't get confused. It's like it is called the constant function alpha. Okay, that's all. We are just using the same symbol to denote the number alpha as well as the function. So this belongs to U, hence or let me put it like this: since U is an ideal we have 1 equal to alpha times 1 by alpha. Note that since alpha is a non-zero real number, its reciprocal exists. So this belongs to u because we are multiplying the ideal element, the function alpha, by another ring element. This is also a function. I think you can guess what this function is. That function is constantly alpha, this function is constantly 1 by alpha. This where 1 comma 1 by alpha belonging to R are defined as 1 of x is equal to 1 and 1 by alpha of x is equal to 1 by alpha. So this is the constant function 1, and that is actually the unit element in the ring of continuous functions. Hence, by exercise 1 of section 3.4, u is equal to R. We have thus proved that M is maximal. Now what we have done with 1 by 2 can be done, you can see clearly that 1 by 2 does not play any role in this whole thing other than the fact that it is a point in the domain. So we can do the same thing for any point in the domain. Similarly, for any, we have used gamma, but anyway, we can do it once more. For any gamma belonging to 0, 1, we can show that M gamma, it is the set of those functions in R which vanish at gamma, is a maximal ideal of R. So according to this notation, this should be M1 by 2. The converse is also true. Converse means every maximal ideal in this ring is equal to M gamma for some gamma. That is our exercise. So just like the maximal ideals in the ring of integers correspond to the prime numbers, here the maximal ideals correspond to points in this set. Okay, points on the unit interval. So in this ring, the maximal ideals correspond to the points of the closed unit interval. Okay, provided we solve exercise 4, then only we will be sure that this is the case. Now we only know that these are maximal. And now we come to the final result that we were waiting for. Let R be okay. Here also in the statement it's not mentioned that R is a non-zero ring. If R is the zero ring, then M, okay, let me just see, then M, we cannot find a maximal ideal. Okay, we don't really need that condition. In here we don't need that condition. Let R be a commutative ring with unit element